Hi, Elle. It is so great to welcome you. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hey, Brooke. Thanks so much. I've been waiting forever for you to ask me. So I'm glad that it's finally here.
It is finally here. So, for everybody watching, I want to give you a little bit of background on Elle, though Elle Petrillo may be a better person to do it for you. But I'm going to do a quick 3-second commercial, and then Elle, you can go into a little more detail if you want. Elle is with Brand Builders, which is an incredible group out of Nashville that helps people build their personal brands. And she has many roles within the company, so I'll let you kind of say what those are. But one of the great things that she does is she helps people identify who their avatar is. And so I wanted to have her come on today to talk about avatars, because as a CFO, that's a marketing thing, and people are like, why are CFOs talking about marketing things? But it makes a huge difference, and we know that we can identify problems with sales and marketing, but we can't fix them. So we like to have people come on who can. So, Elle, thanks.
Yeah, of course. Well, just to give a little bit background of Brand Builders Group, we have been around since July of 2018. Now, although the company only started in July of 2018, we have been doing branding for over 20 years. And so one of the things that differentiates us from someone, I guess you call other branding firms out there, is we only work on personal brands. And so we don't brand companies, we don't brand corporations, we don't brand organizations. It's just people that we brand. And these people typically will run a business or run a company or run an organization, but we focus on branding them because we know that people like to buy from people. And people distrust people, not organizations typically. And so we really want to build the reputation of the people that are running these things. And so what that means is not only do we work on building the reputation, but we work on how do you monetize your brand? How do you drive more leads? So if you were to think about, okay, well, I don't need a personal brand. I have a company and blah, blah, blah. You do. Because if you've ever gone to bed at night wishing that you woke up the next day and had a ton of sales without having a bunch of people work 24/7, that's what a personal brand would do for you. And so we work on how do you actually build an engine within your company, a marketing engine, so that way 24/7 you all are driving leads, you're converting people to grow your revenues. So that's a little bit about what Brand Builders does. My role at Brand Builders is a little threefold, I guess you would say. First off is I work on all accounts. And so I help manage all the accounts with just the relationships, keeping people on their path with us, because brand building isn't a quick thing. It can be, yeah, this is the commitment that you're making. Like, you kind of think of it in a way of you're actually building another business. When you build your brand, you're building a company. When you build your brand, it's your name, your face, and what you drive them to really comes up to what makes sense for your primary business model. So this is like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year commitment for many people. Not everyone works with us that long, but it is a commitment. And so part of my job is to help people stay on track with their journey, stay committed to their journey, because it is a roller coaster, or it can be, but it's a fun one. The second thing that I do is new business development. And so that is just building relationships with our referral partners, our affiliate partners. In fact, our clients are our best salespeople, which is awesome. It means that we're doing something right and they love us, so I'll take it. But so I work with them on just generating the leads and introducing people to us and making sure that we're putting them in the right program for that person if it is a fit. And then lastly is I do some strategy. And so I've worked with Brooke personally, with her and her team. I've worked with quite a few other clients, but I do some strategy in one-on-one sessions as well as ongoing monthly relationships. And so we work with all different types of people, from business owners to entrepreneurs to influencers to Times Women of the Year, to reality TV stars. So we kind of have a mixed bag of personal brand clients.
All right. Well, I want to go back to one thing you said, and then I want to start at the beginning. So the one thing you said was people work with you guys for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I think people need to realize you can't, I mean, think about it. You can't build a brand overnight.
Mm-mm.
You don't just immediately do it. If you think of the iconic brands, if these are not people brands, these are product brands, but Coca-Cola has been around for, what, since before the Civil War?
Yeah.
And, Apple has been around forever. All of these products, it takes a long time. So it's not like you do a quick fix on your brand and it's phenomenal on day one. It's work in progress, and you have to keep working on it.
Yeah.
Not a set it and forget it kind of thing.
Yeah, and people typically look at those and go, well, these are companies, of course not. But what about this person or that person, right? Like you'll be on Instagram, or maybe you won't be, maybe I'll be on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden you see this person just pop up over and over and over, and you see that they're so successful and so on and so forth. And you go, oh my gosh, like it just happened quickly for them. But what they don't see is oftentimes these people have been building 5, 10, 15 years behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden it seems like they're blowing up everywhere, but it's because they've been putting in the work where no one ever sees it. And we hear that all the time.
Yeah, there's someone that said that they were a 20-year overnight success.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I want to start at the beginning.
Okay.
And I think the beginning of your brand, of building any brand, is your client avatar.
Mm-hmm.
A fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely one of the first 3 things that we do. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what is a client avatar? Why is it so important?
So your client avatar is your ideal client of who you want to target and who you want to serve. So why this is important is because people go, well, this person could be a good fit, and this person could be a fit, and I work with this person and I work with that person. And in fact, they don't want to narrow it down to one person because they feel like everyone can do it and everyone can benefit from what they offer, which is probably true. However, if you're trying to target everyone, your chances of really having a lot of success with what you're doing goes down because you're not super focused. And we know, this is a quote from Rory Vaden, who's one of our co-founders, but we know that increased focus equals increased results. Diluted focus equals diluted results. And so we want to know who is your specific person that's going to look at you and go, that's my girl, that's my guy, he gets me, she gets me, and that they instantly connect with you and that they're ideal for what you offer. Because quite honestly, someone who is in their mid 40s, who is a mom, who works, who is divorced, single mom raising kids, who works herself, who lives in suburbia is very different from a single mom who is divorced with 2 kids who lives in the inner city. And that's very different from someone who's an empty nester, very different from someone just out of college. And so if you're going, well, they can all benefit, yeah, but you're never going to be able to create copy for your website, for your marketing, funnels, video content, product offerings in a way that's structured that speaks to that person if we're not clear on who it is. Because the language that I use for a 25-year-old is very different from the language we would use for a 50-year-old. Does that make sense?
And I think, so you had a quote from Rory, there's another one, but the riches are in the niches.
Uh-huh.
Find your niche, find your people. And I think that where we see this as CFOs is if we're working with a company, and I'm going to use a law firm as an example, that does family law, right? So divorce, adoption, modifications of your agreement afterwards. So if you have a family law firm, and they keep getting calls to do DUI or criminal defense or contract work or, I don't know, personal injury.
Yeah.
Their marketing is not speaking to their client avatar because their client avatar is someone who is or just has gone through a divorce.
Yeah.
Probably have children. I mean, like when you talked about that client avatar, that is a person that you can speak to one-on-one in your marketing. And I think that one of the things that was so interesting that you taught me is read your client avatar before you write any copy, so that you are literally having a conversation with that one person. That's the way you create a connection through your marketing verbiage.
Yeah. 100%, because it's like, it's so easy to just think about the last person we spoke to or the last 3 people, or even, and I'm not saying that just because they don't fit your ideal avatar perfectly that they're not going to do business with you. There's a reason we have a secondary target and a tertiary target as well. And so it's not to say that no one will do business with you. That's not ideal, like your ideal person, but we want to really go after your ideal target, because it's usually who you enjoy working with the most anyways. So it's like, imagine if you had your ideal client and you had 30 of them. Like, that would be fun. And that would make life probably a lot easier for most people. And so that's another thing, is like, when you get into the game of spending money on ads, it's like, you don't want to attract a bunch of the wrong type of clientele for yourself. So we got to be clear on this.
Yeah, and like I said, as a CFO, that's where it shows up for us.
Yeah.
That we see ads that aren't working, that we see people calling the office who aren't ideal clients, and it's just a waste of money, because we've spent a lot of money to get them here, and we don't want them. All right. Yeah. So what's the biggest mistake that people make when they create their client avatar?
Is kind of what I was saying before, is that they don't get specific enough. It's like it's amazing. I don't know if I should say amazing. It surprises me how many people resist this exercise because they don't want to exclude people. And they really look at it as exclusion. And it's like, no, we know that the more specific, the more terrific. That's like something that we always say.
Like that.
Yeah. So, and I don't know where I heard that from. That's just years and years ago, but we want to be really specific about who we want to work with for so many reasons. Like we mentioned before, when it comes to copy, the way you do your social media, the way that you create a website, the colors that you use, the logo that you use, like all of that, your avatar helps dictate, which I don't think people realize. And so the number one mistake is
God knows I probably drove my logo. It was all about me and my ego and things that were important. Probably
we worked through that. We worked through it. It's okay. I mean, and it's interesting is if you're starting from scratch too, like you might not know who it is. And so you're taking a guess. And so when we started Brand Builders, we really thought our core target was going to be speakers, authors. And in fact, that's a huge part of our clientele, speakers and authors. We know the speaking business like the back of our hand. We know the book business really, really well as well. But what we're finding is a lot of our clients ended up being small business owners, which is really interesting to me, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does. All right. Could you walk us through the process in like 2 minutes or less?
Really easy. Well, I say it's easy. In my head, it's easy. So what I think most people end up doing when they create their avatar is that they do, can I cuss? I can't cuss. They pretty much do a half-assed job with it. And it's not on purpose. It's not because they don't know what to do. Or in fact, there's so many trainings out there, and I haven't listed all of them. So I mean, I could be completely wrong here. But there's so many trainings out there about creating an avatar. And what I noticed when I read people's avatars who have said to me, oh, I've already done this. I already know who my avatar is. And then they present it. I go, you started to, like, you're there, but we want to go really deep. Like, I want to know when you say this person, I can actually picture them. Like, I feel like they're real and I get them. So one of the things that we like to do is we tell you to think of 2 of your clients, 2 of your favorite clients. And then we look at what are their demographics. So what I mean by that is male or, oh my gosh, this is a big one. People always struggle, male or female. Oftentimes we're like, well, it's both, it's 50-50. Your ideal person most likely is not half male, half female. Like they most likely are not. So who is it a male or is it female, you know? And that might not be completely politically correct these days, so excuse me if it's not. But we want to get really clear. Then
wait, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
That's something that I have really struggled with over the years. And I have had coaches, I've had consultants, I've had all kinds of people tell me, you need to go to women only. You're a woman-owned company. You're everyone that works for you is female. Like you need to go after this demographic. And I even at one point rewrote all the copy for my website to be women only. And the fact of the matter is, guys are attracted to our company.
Yeah.
And I had someone, this was so funny. We were sitting in what we call a jumpstart day. So one-on-one all day long. And he looked at me, he said, you know, I hired you in spite of your website. Like, great.
Well, so I was going to say that is something I've noticed. Even yesterday, we were in a strategy session with a client, and she's a female, and she does consulting, and she was really struggling with. I think females struggle with saying, "I want to work with men only," or not only, but that's my client. For some reason, we have in our head because we're female, because we're women-owned, that we should want to focus on helping other women. Love it, nothing wrong with it, all about it. However, that's not always your ideal client based on the business that you're doing. We know there's characteristics of women that don't necessarily always line up with people's business models. And we know there's characteristics of men that don't always line up with people's business models. So I think that's really important that you brought that up because I see that all the time.
Well, I went through it and people still tell me you should be, you know, only for women. And I'm like, no, men like us, men are attracted to us. We have female clients, like you said.
That's your secondary target is a female.
Yeah, we have female clients and we have an avatar for both, but our main avatar is a guy.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that we do really we serve that client well.
Mm-hmm. And we know like what motivates a male is different than what motivates a female. And so when you're writing copy, that's important. And I'll get a little bit more into that, but that's also to say that's why we have a secondary and a tertiary market. Your secondary market could be it could be the same exact type of person almost, but in a female form or in a male form, depending on who your primary is. So name, gender, their age. This is another one that people really struggle with. So we try to do kind of a 10-year range. Anything more than that is almost too different. And also to me depends on what that 10 years, like a 20 and 30-year-old, huge difference. A 30 and 40-year-old, huge difference. 40 and 50, not so much, right? 35 to 45, probably similar, but we're really looking at keeping that age range. So their mentality and their lifestyle is typically close enough. We look at their education level. We look at their location, geography wise. Are they in an A city, B city? Are they in the Midwest, the Northeast? Are they international? Are they suburbia? Are they what are they? That all gives them insight.
Failed. Because I'm like, US. I don't want to do outside the US. And you're like, well, where in the, urban, suburban? And I'm like, nope, US.
West Coast, East Coast, like whole different mentality. The South, I'm in the South, so I can say it's a whole different other world. Like being from the Northeast, very different mentality. So it's good to know those things. What else do we say? Their income level, their position. And we know with income level that drives a lot of decisions, right? Like the person I was with yesterday does luxury. And when we talk about luxury, like we're talking about lots and lots and lots of money luxury, not like I went to Nordstrom today type luxury, which is not, it's all different mentality. We look at, what was the other, whether or not they're married. We're looking at, are they faith-based or not? Not that we care what they are, but it's like some are spiritual, some are no. This is like my clients are hardcore Christians. Other people are like, my clients are not religious or spiritual whatsoever. They, you know, or they believe in the universe. Like, we want to know what is their approach to that. What are their beliefs?
Well, it's interesting because when you started talking about like their resume, how old they are, where they live, what their job is, where they went to school, very kind of resume. And now you've moved into belief. Now you've moved into what they think, how they feel.
Yeah, so we do demographics, and now oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that's the harder part. That's the hard part.
Well, what you find out is a lot of people, this is what is missing for most people's avatars, is that you don't do psychographics. And so we want to know, what does this person care about? Not just what do they care about in the term context of what you're offering, but what do they care about as a person? Do they care about looking good? Do they care about like the trends? Do they care about serving people? Do they care about their family? Do they care about traveling, trying new places? What do they want? What do they need? What are they afraid of? Like, that's a big thing too, because oftentimes when you write sales copy is you want to play to people's fears in a good way. And then you want to at least address them so they go, oh, wow, like, it's like they're talking to me, right? Like, how do they know that? I never told anyone that. What are their limiting beliefs? What are their excuses? What does this person, what are they searching for? That's a big one. And so I think when it comes to creating your avatar, not only do you want to focus demographics of like, hey, this is kind of their status, all that stuff, and then psychographics, which is what's in their heart. What are the characteristics that they want, they need, they care about, they're searching for, they're afraid of, because that is what's going to allow you to really write copy that connects.
Yeah. And I think, you said that people come to you and they've got part of their avatar down, but not the whole thing. And, I had the demographics down. But the psychographics, and I had some, but I just hadn't gone deep enough.
And a lot of people sorry, I thought you were.
No, I think that that's really important. And I think that one of the things you guys do is really draw that out.
Yeah. I would say a lot of people go, well, I don't know this about them. Like, they only focus so much on the business component that they don't really know their client. And we go, well, that's some things you got to figure out and get to know. And they think like, oh, well, they're not hiring me to know all that stuff. They're hiring me for this, but it's not about why they work with you. It's about creating marketing that allows you to build an engine to drive leads and attract more of those people. So it's not necessarily that you need to have a successful business, but to have successful marketing that works for you 24/7, you do need to know these things.
I had a client say something to me the other day. He's like, I hire people and I work with people that look like me, that I identify with, which is really funny because I'm about as opposite from him as you could get, not just the male-female thing, but I mean, everything. And but I can see people, and I don't know if this is a trap or not, but I'm going to say falling into the trap of saying their client avatar is themselves. When you start to get to those psychographics, it's, well, I'm faith-based, so my client avatar is going to be faith-based, or I'm all about my children, or I totally believe in the PTA, or like, is that a trap? Or do we want
No, I don't think it's a trap at all. I think it's oftentimes true that many people building their brand or running their company, it's because they're trying to solve a problem, or they have solved a problem that they once had. And so sometimes the best person you're positioned to serve is who you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, right? Like, even if you think about brand builders, mission-driven messenger is like our avatar persona. We want to serve people that have a message, who are on a mission, and help those people build their brand, not the people looking to just get certified on Instagram and make money, right? Like, those are not our ideal clients.
Yeah.
They're people that are on a mission to share a message. And so if you think about it, Our co-founder, Rory Vaden, who is a New York Times bestselling author and podcaster, and is the youngest American to be in the Hall of Fame of speaking, and so on and so forth. Like, we literally are creating this for people that were for him, because when he was on this journey really it started when he was in middle school, but let's just say 17 years old is when he really got into it. There was no company that showed you the path. He had to figure out, how do you become a great speaker and build relationships and mentorships and invest a lot of money and a lot of time into learning the craft. Like, he had to learn and hustle to get a book deal and all these things. So we actually, all the things we're teaching people is what took over 20 something years for him and our other co-founder, AJ, which is also his wife, to learn how to do. And so we're serving those people that, people that wants work.
Well, and it's interesting, when I look at my clients, I see themes that are so important in my life that are very important in their life. My clients like to travel. And you know that
I like to throw 50th birthday parties in Cali with all their friends.
Well, as one of my people said, and this goes back to what you said about Rory, one of the people on our team said, in some ways, you are aspirational for some of our clients. The birthday party in Paris, like most people, like taking 8 friends to Europe for a week, like that's an aspirational thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, some of our clients are in a place where they want to be able to do that. So,
well, if you think about it, most people aren't going to be attracted to someone who is so completely opposite of them, right? Like, I am a Christian, but if someone was an atheist, which is their choice, and that's cool, but I most likely won't be attracted to doing business with them because it's so different from my beliefs. Not that I have an issue with it. It's just like, that's your choice, but I'm probably going to find someone who lines up more with my beliefs.
And it probably wouldn't be a conscious decision. It would be their marketing doesn't speak to you and you continue scrolling past.
Yeah, well, I think about that when I'm dating, right? Like, if I see that, like, they don't want kids and their religious beliefs don't line up, it's like, I know that we're not going to see eye to eye on some things. And what you want is going to be different from what I want. And that's totally okay. It's just knowing it's different and it doesn't line up. And so I think there's nothing wrong with that, because what happens is when you're really specific about your avatar, you attract more people that work with you, like, that you want. And you people are so afraid to not push away, but repel people from their business. Like, they're so afraid that, I don't want people not to want to work with me. But that's a good thing. When you are known for exactly what you do and how you do it, you're going to attract more like-minded people, and you're going to unattract like people that are not a good fit. And that's great.
Right, because if you're not repelling the people who aren't a good fit, let me say that in a more positive way. If you are attracting people who aren't a good fit, it means that you're spending a lot of time on sales calls with people who are never going to buy from you.
Yep.
That is a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
So, let's just attract people that will want to work with you, have a higher conversion rate, spend less time on sales calls and have more clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, I think it's a great thing if you see common themes. Not to say that every single person is going to be exactly like you, so on and so forth, but I think you need to be really specific so that way you know how to best position yourself.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about the demographics, we've talked about the psychographics. So at that point, is our avatar complete? Well,
there's 2 more things you pretty much want to do. One is you want to actually give your avatar a name. So you want to put in a first name and a last name, and you could throw in a middle name if you want. If they're a junior, whatever it might be, up to you. But you want to pull together their demographics and psychographics really into a story where you talk about too, like what type of neighborhood do they live in? What type of house do they live in? What do they drive? What are their daily emotions? What is their ambition and drive like? What is their fitness level? What do they like to do for fun? Like, what are their hobbies? Like, really create a story for this person. It could be a paragraph, it could be a whole page. I've seen extremely detailed, which I think is awesome. I've also seen not as much detail. I think the ones that put in more time to really create this story and give it life are the ones that have more clarity and usually are a little bit more effective as they move forward. So that would be the next thing. And then the last thing you want to do is an avatar persona. And so what we mean by that is, how do you actually take their story and this person and describe them in 2 or 3 words? If someone goes, who's your client or who do you serve? Being able to say mission driven messenger, or the budding entrepreneur, or the hot mess, like stay at home mom, or whatever it might be. It's like, what is your persona of your avatar? So that way someone can hear it and go, oh yes, I get what that means. And that would be the last part of it.
Awesome. So one of the things, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but I want to go back to it, is when you go to write copy, you will suggest reading through that client avatar story and then speaking to that person as you write.
Yeah, like when we write copy, we're always looking at the psychographics and the demographics, like just constantly, and pulling words from it. So the more, like when you do a word cloud, if I said, what does this person care about? And you create a word cloud, like having about five is okay, but I think like 10 things, ideally. It may be overkill for some, but for me, I think like 10 different things under each topic is really helpful because you can pull from it.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So what is the number one belief that people have about their client avatar?
Number one belief they have about their client avatar. I feel like I said this. I think the number one belief that people have about their avatar is they know who it is.
And really, they just don't.
Most times they don't. Like, we had a client, he's a financial advisor in Raleigh, big fan of him, but he said that one of his biggest takeaways from our strategy session was he came into it thinking he knew who their avatar was, who their ideal client was. And when we got into it, he was like, oh no, I was completely off. Because what most people think about with their avatar is they think about who do they, like, who is their most common client that they currently have. But what's nice about this, especially when you get into marketing, is you can create your ideal client and you can start targeting that audience even more if you're clear on it. And so just because this type of person has been the most common client doesn't make them your ideal client. And so once we get clear on who your ideal is, then we can shift all the efforts to getting more of those people. And you'll see a couple of times as your business grows, like what tends to happen is as your business grows, people typically charge more, right? Because they can. And so what happens then is your level of client also increases because they have more money to spend with you to meet what you're currently charging. And so you're going to go through different layers and stages of different avatars over time.
So that was one of the things that we discovered. So our quick avatar is fast growing entrepreneurs who execute. And that execute thing came later. That was not originally, I mean, we were just fast growing entrepreneurs. And we noticed the clients that weren't doing well with us, we consistently said the same thing. They're not executing.
Yeah.
They're not making decisions. They're not moving forward. We're still talking about the same thing we were talking about 7 months ago, and they haven't done that piece of homework. Like,
yeah,
we've been talking about this. We've been telling you to do this. So like that execution became really important to us. And as we've gotten bigger, as we've gotten more clients, we've been able to screen for that better. which means, I mean, it's a great thing. So we've got clients that are more successful because they execute. They work with us and they execute, which means they do better working with us. So like our results are better. Like it's this whole thing, this whole snowball thing.
Yeah, win-win.
What?
I said it's a win-win. Yeah.
It really is. Absolutely. All right. So what else do people need to know about their avatar?
I think that pretty much covers it. You need to have one. That's what the biggest thing is. You need to have one. And then I think we talked about how do you actually create one, which is the demographics, the psychographics, the story, and the persona. There's really 4 pieces to it. And don't rush it. Don't rush it. Don't overthink it. But you got to do it.
Don't overthink it. And yet you spend hours on this and you keep going back and refining it. So that's kind of a...
People get caught up in like, oh, what if I choose the wrong thing? Like going back to that male-female conversation, right? It's like, they're so afraid to make a decision on it. And it's like, okay, just be real with yourself of who's going to look at you and go, that's my girl. Or that's my guy, right? Like men enjoy working with you because you're direct, because you don't BS, because you're straightforward, because you don't handhold unless you need to, and you give them the real deal. Like they respect the fact that you're the person that's going to tell them the things that no one else will say to them, or no one is even aware of it. Like that is qualities that they probably find attractive about doing business with you and your firm. Not say that women don't appreciate that too, but typically that's a personality that serves a male clientele really well. So it's like, I think sometimes it's just looking at, okay, even though I can connect with everyone, right? It's like, I have a background where I've lived in 23 cities. It's very rare that I can't connect with almost everyone I meet in some way, some form, some fashion, right? But I also know that I am not positioned to best serve every single one of those people just because I can connect with them. There's some people that personality-wise are going to do better with someone else, that skill-wise, their industry, whatever it might be. So it's just getting really clear of like, who are you best and most powerfully positioned to serve? Because you're going to have better results and you're going to enjoy it more.
So as a company grows, so you all do personal brands that generally support a company, right? So as that company grows, as they get bigger, I think a lot of times the instinct is to have more avatars. So, you went niche to start, and now as you grow, should you be expanding or should you be niching down more?
Well, this is something that actually does come up is for every offering that you have that's different, ideally you want to create an avatar for that. So for example, it's like we do 2-day intensives, and that's actually where you started with us, is you did a 2-day intensive, right? Not everyone can do a 2-day intensive to start with us, usually due to budget constraints, if anything. So the person who is a perfect candidate for a 2-day intensive and is usually very different from someone who's a perfect candidate for our entry-level program.
Yeah.
And part of the differentiator is, do you already have a business that you're monetizing? Like if someone doesn't already have a business that they're monetizing, the likelihood of them being able to start with a 2-day intensive, it goes down, depending on it. And so those are 2 different types of avatars, technically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so for each product offering, ideally, you do have a specific avatar for that.
Well, and this is something that in the 8 months we've been working together, 9 months, however long.
It's the last 5 years.
Time flies. So we started off with one avatar, and as we've worked together more, we have realized that there are 4 stages that our clients are in. And so we talk about our 4 mountains, the 4 mountains you have to climb. And, you know, the first one is envisioning your business, really understanding your business model. The next is stabilizing. And then, you know, as you move through these four things, we really are starting to develop avatars for each one of them.
Yeah.
Because if you're stabilizing your business, you're in a very different place as an entrepreneur than if you're actually scaling your business.
Yeah.
And there, yeah. So like I have to speak to them differently. But interestingly, so our four mountains are envisioning, stabilizing, predicting, and scaling. And what we find so amazing is that most people that we encounter say that they're ready to scale or they are scaling. And then we start reading to them about what happens in the different phases. They're like, oh yeah, I'm stabilizing.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being in stabilizing. Like we've got to do that. We've got to build that foundation before we can go bigger. But it is interesting, like we can really now see and speak to different people on those different mountains.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they might feel like they're scaling because they're growing, but in reality, like you said, they're stabilizing, but it might feel like scaling to them.
And if we start reading, they're like, this is what you're experiencing. And they're like, oh yeah, nothing wrong with being there. It's a great place to be because you're actually starting to make some money.
Yay, I like that part.
Woo! We are all about making money here.
Amen. So are we. I think that's one of the biggest things that so many people with branding that come to it, they think that branding is like logos and colors and social media and all that. But just very much like you have a 4-phase approach of the mountains, like we have a 4-phase approach when it comes to building your brand, which is identification, curation, which is most likely people think is what they think of when they think of branding, optimization, and then maximization, which is more the scaling. But to go back to, I think one of the biggest differentiators is that very much like you, we put a big emphasis on helping our clients make more money or make money. And that's what you guys are all about too. So I like the synergy there.
Absolutely. Okay, Elle, if people want to find you, how do they find you?
Yeah, one of the cool things that we actually do at Brand Builders Group is if you're watching this and go, gosh, I really want to learn about what it looks like to build my personal brand, we offer strategy calls. And so you can actually book one of those and I think we can give you the link, Brooke, too, to put underneath here, but calendly.com/LP/60 minutes. So it's ELLEP/60 minutes. MIN. So I'll give you the link because I'm sure that seemed a little confusing right there, but I'll give it to you so you can put it below here. But yeah, we'll hop on the call for about 45 minutes, 60 minutes and dig in and learn about you and your brand and your vision for it and to see if this would be a good fit for you. You could also go to brandbuildersgroup.com.
Awesome. Fabulous. And I know I started with a call with you.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
Lucky you. Lucky me, actually, is what I should say. Thank you so much for having me on, Brooke.
Oh, thank you, Elle. It's been great. And again, Elle Petrillo with Brand Builders Group. And she told you how to book an hour with her, or you can go to brandbuildersgroup.com and contact them through there.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.